Imagine a man who started with $114 and built a fortune worth over $100 billion, without flashy tech startups or gambling on risky stocks. A man whose every move Wall Street watches like a hawk, yet he lives in the same house he bought decades ago. Warren Buffett, the Oracle of Omaha, is not just an investor. He's a phenomenon. But how did he do it? What are the secrets behind his timeless strategies? How did a boy from Nebraska become the greatest investor of all time?
I could figure out when I was 10, if I had a fairly long life, I was going to end up with a lot of money.
Warren Buffett's journey from a small-town boy in Omaha to one of the wealthiest and most admired investors in history is nothing short of extraordinary. Born in 1930 during the Great Depression, Warren grew up in an environment where every penny counted, and the value of hard work was deeply ingrained. His father, Howard Buffett, was a stockbroker and later a U.S. congressman. The family's dinner table conversations often revolved around finance and economics, sparking Warren's early interest in the stock market. Buffett wasn't your typical child. While other kids were riding bikes and playing baseball, Warren was poring over numbers, devouring books about investing, and studying the stock market pages of the local newspaper. By the age of 11, he made his first stock purchase, investing in Citi's Service Preferred shares. Even at that young age, he showed the patience and analytical mindset that would later define his career. When the stock dipped shortly after he bought it, Warren resisted the panic to sell immediately. He held on until the shares recovered slightly and sold them for a small profit. But then he learned a painful lesson. Had he held on to the stock longer, his profit would have been much larger. This early experience planted the seed for one of his most famous principles: long-term thinking.
The first rule in investment is don't lose. And the second rule in investment is don't forget the first rule.
As a teenager, Buffett's entrepreneurial spirit was undeniable. He delivered newspapers, sold chewing gum and Coca-Cola door-to-door, and even launched his first business, a pinball machine operation. He placed the machines in local barbershops and split the profits with the shop owners. By the time he graduated high school, Warren had already amassed $5,000, equivalent to around $60,000 today. His peers might have seen a kid with a knack for numbers, but Warren was quietly laying the foundation for his future empire. Buffett's path to greatness took a decisive turn when he studied at Columbia University under Benjamin Graham, the father of value investing. Graham's book, The Intelligent Investor, became Buffett's Bible, teaching him the principles of buying undervalued companies with strong fundamentals. It wasn't just a lesson in finance, it was a philosophy, a way of seeing the market as a long-term wealth-building tool rather than a place for quick gains. His early years were marked by relentless curiosity, an insatiable hunger for knowledge, and an unwavering focus on his goals. These qualities didn't just define his childhood, they would become the bedrock of his success.
I've never known anyone as focused as he is. It's amazing. He wants to be the best he can be at what he's doing. And what he's doing happens to make a lot of money.
How did this young entrepreneur evolve into the Oracle of Omaha? It all began with a company called Berkshire Hathaway. Warren Buffett's decision to acquire Berkshire Hathaway may seem like a stroke of genius now, but in reality, it began with a misstep and transformed into one of the most remarkable corporate turnarounds in history. At the time, Berkshire Hathaway was a failing textile company based in New England. Buffett initially saw it as a short-term investment, buying shares when the stock price dipped below its intrinsic value, a classic move inspired by his mentor, Benjamin Graham. But then something unexpected happened. Buffett discovered that the management at Berkshire had a habit of undervaluing the company and buying back shares from shareholders at a discount. Buffett negotiated to sell his stake, but when the CEO made a lower offer than agreed upon, it wasn't just a bad deal. It was an insult. Instead of walking away, Buffett decided to buy a controlling interest in the company, effectively taking the reins himself. What began as a value investment soon became a turning point in Buffett's career.
Warren really is a product of Omaha, especially in the era that he grew up there. The virtues of modesty, thrift, plain-spokenness, and Warren really exemplifies those.
At first, owning a struggling textile business seemed like an odd move for an investor as calculated as Buffett. The textile industry was declining, and keeping the business afloat was draining capital. But instead of cutting his losses, Buffett took a different approach. He diversified. Berkshire Hathaway became the foundation upon which he built an empire. Buffett began reinvesting the company's profits into industries far removed from textiles, including insurance, which became a cornerstone of Berkshire's success. One of Buffett's earliest and smartest acquisitions was National Indemnity, an insurance company. Why insurance? Because it generates cash upfront through premiums, providing a pool of funds, called a float, that can be invested before claims are paid out. This gave Buffett the capital he needed to acquire more businesses and stocks, turning Berkshire Hathaway into a money-making machine. Under Buffett's leadership, Berkshire grew into a conglomerate unlike any other. From See's Candies to GEICO, Buffett focused on companies with strong brands, solid fundamentals, and the potential for long-term growth. He famously avoided trendy businesses or anything outside his circle of competence. Buffett wasn't chasing the next big thing. He was building a fortress of enduring value. By transforming Berkshire Hathaway from a failing textile company into a diversified holding giant, Buffett demonstrated his knack for turning setbacks into stepping stones. It wasn't just about the numbers, it was about vision, discipline, and a keen ability to spot opportunities where others saw none. His transformation of Berkshire Hathaway is legendary, but what really sets him apart is his strategy. Let's dive into the core of his investing philosophy.
The market is there to serve you, not to inform you. And basically he was saying the market will be wrong. Now that flies in the face of what a lot of other people think, but Graham would say that sometimes the market is very, very wrong. And if you look at the prices of stocks as buying pieces of businesses, you will be able to recognize when the market is very wrong.
Warren Buffett's investing strategy is the stuff of legend. While many on Wall Street chase quick profits or bet on high-risk, high-reward ventures, Buffett built his fortune by adhering to a simple, time-tested principle: value investing. At its core, this strategy is about finding undervalued companies with strong fundamentals and holding them for the long haul. It sounds straightforward, but Buffett's genius lies in how he executes it with unparalleled discipline and insight. One of his key concepts is the idea of an economic moat, a sustainable competitive advantage that protects a company from competitors. Just as a medieval castle is fortified by its moat, a business with a wide moat is safeguarded by factors like brand loyalty, cost advantages, or market dominance. Think of companies like Coca-Cola or Apple, brands so ingrained in daily life that they're almost impossible to displace. These are the types of companies Buffett seeks out, businesses that are built to thrive, not just survive.
Who said, "Be greedy when others are fearful, be fearful when others are greedy." And Warren knew that the party would come to an end and at some point the bubble would burst.
Buffett's strategy also revolves around his circle of competence. Unlike many investors who spread themselves too thin by venturing into unfamiliar industries, Buffett sticks to what he knows. Whether it's insurance, consumer goods, or banking, he invests only in areas where he feels confident and informed. His famous advice? Never invest in a business you don't understand. This focus allows him to make calculated, informed decisions rather than risky bets. Another hallmark of Buffett's approach is his patience. While the stock market often behaves like a manic depressive, oscillating between greed and fear, Buffett remains calm and focused on the bigger picture. He's known for saying, "The stock market is a device for transferring money from the impatient to the patient." His ability to tune out market noise and stick to his strategy has allowed him to capitalize on opportunities others miss. For example, during the 2008 financial crisis, while many were panicking, Buffett invested billions, securing lucrative deals that would pay off handsomely in the years to come. Buffett also emphasizes buying quality at a reasonable price. Unlike those who chase cheap stocks, he prioritizes businesses with consistent earnings, good management, and strong potential for growth. He famously quipped, "It's far better to buy a wonderful company at a fair price than a fair company at a wonderful price." This principle underpins many of his most successful investments, like his stake in Coca-Cola, which he began buying in the late 1980s. Decades later, it remains one of Berkshire Hathaway's crown jewels. Buffett's strategy isn't flashy, and it doesn't rely on complex algorithms or insider tips. It's grounded in fundamentals and timeless wisdom, which is why it's so effective. For him, investing isn't about gambling or speculation, it's about buying pieces of businesses he believes in, businesses that will stand the test of time. His investing philosophy is deceptively simple, but it's also deeply personal. How does his life philosophy shape his approach to both investing and the world around him?
If you invest in yourself, nobody can take it away from you.
Warren Buffett's approach to investing and life can be boiled down to one guiding principle: simplicity over complexity. While the world of finance is often shrouded in jargon and complex strategies, Buffett has always rejected the notion that investing needs to be complicated. His philosophy isn't just a strategy for making money, it's a way of life, rooted in clarity, discipline, and a refusal to overthink. One of the most remarkable aspects of Buffett's life is how unassuming it is, especially for someone of his stature. Despite being one of the richest men in the world, he still lives in the same modest home in Omaha, Nebraska that he purchased in 1958 for $31,500. His lifestyle isn't a rejection of wealth, but rather a reflection of his values. For Buffett, material possessions don't define success. Building something meaningful does.
We read 5 to 6 hours a day. I don't read as fast now as when I was younger, but I read 5 daily newspapers. I read a fair number of magazines. I read 10Ks. I read annual reports, and I read a lot of other things too. So I've always enjoyed reading. I love reading biographies, for example.
This ethos extends directly into his investing philosophy. Buffett has always believed that you don't need a PhD in economics or access to complicated algorithms to succeed in the stock market. Instead, you need a keen eye for value, a long-term perspective, and the discipline to avoid unnecessary risks. As Buffett puts it, you only have to do a very few things right in your life so long as you don't do too many things wrong. A key element of this simplicity is his reliance on common sense. Buffett avoids fads, trends, and industries he doesn't fully understand. This is why he stayed away from the dot-com bubble in the late 1990s, a decision that was widely criticized at the time but ultimately vindicated when the bubble burst. His ability to cut through the noise and focus on the fundamentals has allowed him to avoid costly mistakes. Buffett's simplicity is also evident in his business operations. While Berkshire Hathaway is a sprawling conglomerate with dozens of subsidiaries, Buffett manages it with minimal bureaucracy. He empowers the CEOs of his companies to make decisions and rarely interferes, trusting them to do what's best for their businesses. This hands-off approach has fostered a culture of autonomy and accountability, allowing Berkshire to thrive without unnecessary complexity. Another cornerstone of Buffett's philosophy is patience and discipline. While Wall Street is obsessed with quarterly earnings and short-term gains, Buffett takes the long view. He often says, "Our favorite holding period is forever." This perspective allows him to ride out market volatility and focus on the underlying value of his investments rather than getting swept up in speculative frenzies. His partnership with Charlie Munger, his longtime friend and vice chairman of Berkshire Hathaway, further underscores the power of simplicity. Together, they've refined a philosophy that prioritizes rationality over emotion and long-term thinking over instant gratification. Munger once summed up their approach by saying, "Take a simple idea and take it seriously." It's a sentiment that perfectly captures the Buffett-Munger mindset. What makes Buffett's philosophy so powerful is that it's relatable. He doesn't rely on secret formulas or insider knowledge. He simply applies timeless principles with consistency and discipline. His life and investments are a testament to the idea that success doesn't have to be complicated, it just requires focus, patience, and a clear sense of purpose. Buffett's philosophy of simplicity has guided him to unprecedented success, but it's his empire, the financial and philanthropic juggernaut of Berkshire Hathaway, that truly showcases his legacy. How did he build this remarkable empire, and what does it mean today? Warren Buffett's journey to success is not just about accumulating immense wealth, it's about what he's done with it. Over the decades, Buffett has grown Berkshire Hathaway into one of the most valuable companies in the world, and in doing so, he has amassed a personal fortune that has consistently placed him among the wealthiest individuals on the planet. But what truly sets Buffett apart is his commitment to using that wealth to make a difference. Under Buffett's stewardship, Berkshire Hathaway transformed from a struggling textile company into a diversified conglomerate with a market cap exceeding $700 billion. Today, the company owns or has major stakes in household names like GEICO, Dairy Queen, Duracell, and BNSF Railway. Buffett's investment in Apple alone has turned into one of the most profitable bets in stock market history, solidifying his reputation as the Oracle of Omaha. What makes this success even more extraordinary is how Buffett achieved it. While many billionaires leverage risky ventures, technological breakthroughs, or cutthroat strategies, he stuck to his tried-and-true principles. Invest in companies with strong fundamentals, hold them for the long term, and trust in the power of compounding. Through patience and discipline, he turned relatively modest investments into multi-billion-dollar returns. But Buffett's definition of success goes beyond financial achievements. His belief in giving back has become a cornerstone of his legacy. In 2006, he made headlines with his historic pledge to donate more than 99% of his wealth to philanthropic causes, primarily through the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation.
My wife, Susie, and I had planned that whatever I made would go back to society, and originally I thought she would outlive me and that she'd make the big decision on it. But since her death, I had to rethink the best way to get the money into society and have it used in the most effective way. And I had a solution staring me in the face.
This commitment is part of the Giving Pledge, an initiative he co-founded with Bill Gates, encouraging billionaires to donate the majority of their wealth to address global challenges. Buffett's philanthropic efforts aren't just about writing checks. They reflect his thoughtful approach to problem solving. By partnering with established foundations and experienced leaders, he ensures his contributions have a lasting impact. His donations have funded initiatives in education, healthcare, poverty alleviation, and more, touching millions of lives worldwide. Despite his wealth, Buffett remains deeply humble. He famously avoids the trappings of luxury, choosing instead to live modestly and focus on his mission. His down-to-earth demeanor and focus on long-term value, both in investing and in life, make him a role model not just for aspiring investors, but for anyone striving to create meaningful change. Buffett's success isn't just measured in dollars, it's measured in the opportunities he's created for others and the example he sets. He once said, "Someone is sitting in the shade today because someone planted a tree a long time ago." His life is a testament to the idea that wealth is a tool, not a trophy, a means to create a better world for generations to come. His extraordinary journey raises an important question. What can we learn from his success, and how can we apply his timeless principles to our own lives?
I bought my first stock in April of 1942. I was 11. Pearl Harbor had happened 3 or 4 months earlier. We were losing the war. I mean, you want to talk about a bad outlook for the country. The country's not going to go away. The plants aren't going to go away. The people aren't going to go away. The talents aren't going to go away. The country will grow in value over time. Now, who gets it is another question. But
Warren Buffett's success isn't just a product of his intellect or financial acumen, it's the result of a disciplined approach to investing and a set of principles that have stood the test of time. For anyone seeking to build wealth or navigate the complexities of life, Buffett's timeless wisdom offers a roadmap. One of Buffett's most famous lessons is to invest for the long term. He often likens the stock market to a voting machine in the short term and a weighing machine in the long term. What he means is that short-term market fluctuations are often driven by emotions and speculation, but over time, the true value of a business will shine through. This belief in long-term thinking has allowed him to weather market crashes and come out stronger. He famously held Coca-Cola stock for decades, turning a modest initial investment into billions. Buffett also emphasizes the importance of knowing your circle of competence. This isn't just about avoiding things you don't understand, it's about mastering the areas where you excel. Whether it's analyzing a balance sheet or understanding a company's competitive advantages, Buffett believes that focusing on your strengths is far more effective than chasing every opportunity. Another key lesson is to prioritize quality over price. While many investors are tempted to buy cheap stocks, Buffett is more interested in companies with strong fundamentals, excellent management, and sustainable competitive advantages. As he puts it, it's far better to buy a wonderful company at a fair price than a fair company at a wonderful price. This philosophy underpins his investments in companies like Apple, Coca-Cola, and American Express. Buffett's mantra of staying rational in a chaotic market is perhaps more relevant today than ever. He famously advises investors to be fearful when others are greedy and greedy when others are fearful. During market downturns, when most investors panic, Buffett sees opportunities. This contrarian approach has allowed him to acquire undervalued assets at a discount, setting him up for massive returns when markets recover. One of Buffett's lesser discussed but equally important principles is the power of patience and discipline. He's often described investing as a game of waiting for the right pitch. You don't have to swing at everything, he says. You can wait for your pitch. This mindset isn't just about avoiding bad investments, it's about waiting for the best ones. Buffett's lessons go beyond the financial realm. His emphasis on integrity and ethics is a cornerstone of his philosophy. He believes that reputation takes years to build, but can be destroyed in an instant. For Buffett, success isn't just about making money. It's about doing so in a way that earns trust and respect. Finally, Buffett's humility and simplicity remind us that wealth is a means, not an end. Despite his billions, he continues to live modestly, drive a simple car, and eat at local diners. For Buffett, happiness comes from meaningful work, relationships, and the joy of building something enduring. His wisdom has inspired millions, but how has it shaped the future of investing? Warren Buffett's legacy is not just one of financial brilliance, it's a testament to how enduring principles, humility, and a long-term vision can transform industries, inspire individuals, and reshape the world. For many, Buffett isn't just the Oracle of Omaha. He's a symbol of what it means to succeed with integrity and purpose. His greatest impact lies in his revolutionary approach to investing. At a time when Wall Street often prioritized flashy short-term gains, he championed the philosophy of value investing, a patient, methodical strategy that focuses on the intrinsic worth of businesses. His success with Berkshire Hathaway proved that you don't need to be a speculator or follow trends to create immense wealth. This shift in perspective has influenced countless investors, from beginners to seasoned professionals, and established Buffett as a thought leader in the financial world. But Buffett's legacy extends far beyond his investing acumen. Through the Giving Pledge, he has set a new standard for philanthropy among the ultra-wealthy. His commitment to donating over 99% of his fortune to charitable causes has inspired billionaires worldwide to reimagine their responsibility to society. Unlike many philanthropists who focus on building monuments to their name, he emphasizes practical solutions to global challenges. His partnership with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation has channeled billions into healthcare, poverty alleviation, and education, impacting millions of lives across the globe. Buffett's influence also reshaped the role of a corporate leader. In an era of sprawling corporate hierarchies, his management style at Berkshire Hathaway stands out for its simplicity and trust. By empowering his executives and avoiding micromanagement, Buffett has shown that businesses can thrive when leaders prioritize autonomy, accountability, and long-term vision. This approach has become a model for modern corporate governance. Perhaps the most profound aspect of Buffett's legacy is his accessibility and relatability. Despite his extraordinary wealth, Buffett has always been approachable in both his demeanor and his advice. He speaks in plain terms, often using analogies and stories to explain complex ideas. This has made him a teacher not just for aspiring investors, but for anyone seeking wisdom in life. His annual letters to Berkshire Hathaway shareholders are studied like scripture, offering lessons on everything from business strategy to human behavior. Buffett's legacy also challenges conventional ideas of success. He's shown the world that happiness doesn't come from extravagant lifestyles or constant ambition, but from doing work you love, staying true to your values, and maintaining strong relationships. His friendship with Charlie Munger, his dedication to his family, and his willingness to share his wisdom with the world reflect a life well lived. His influence has transcended the financial world, inspiring people to think differently about money, success, and the impact they can have on the world. Buffett's story isn't just a tale of business triumph, it's a roadmap for living a meaningful life. And as we look to the future, his lessons will continue to shape generations of investors, leaders, and dreamers. His journey is proof that principles and purpose can create lasting impact. So, the next time you think about success, ask yourself, what legacy will you leave behind? What do you think of Warren Buffett's investing philosophy? Are you applying any of his principles in your financial journey? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more stories about the world's greatest minds and their timeless lessons. Click the next video for an even more intriguing story. Thanks for watching.